and we've said this a million times, if you want to get into better shape, are you going to spend time with people who don't care about fitness at all?
I think it's very natural for people who are far ahead of where you are, if you're listening, to spend time with other people that are at their level or beyond it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. We did a live Meetup Monday.
Oh, yeah?
Creating your own customized system of success. Today, for episode number 559, the 5 buckets of friendship. So, one of my favorite questions to ask is, are the people in your life the best for your future or the best from your past? Today, we're going to go over the 5 buckets. And it's not necessarily just friendship. Maybe it's mentorship or you coaching somebody. But I believe Brendan Burchard had 4, or did he have 3 buckets? Where did this come from?
3. So we were at his event, he had 3 buckets, and then we were on the plane, you came up with the 4th one, and then we were with Steve Ryder and came up with the 5th one. Do you want me to frame them?
Honestly, you could frame them.
Okay. Well, first, what I want to do to provide context on this episode, I was reading The Compound Effect this morning, listening to it, and this is one of my go-to books. If you're a long-term listener of this show, you know that. If you're new, you will know that. This book I've read dozens of times, and I continue to do it because it keeps me on track. But anyways, long story short here, I was on a chapter about influences. And there's 3 types of influences in that book. There's expanded associations, limited associations, and then disassociations. And basically, he talked about how there was a Harvard study, and I can't quote it, but I can quote the book, that said that up to 96% of your results is actually a byproduct of your reference group. Now, what your reference group basically means in, simpler terms is your friends. And there's the great quote by Ben Franklin. He says, when you lay down with dogs, you come up with fleas. In other words, we've all been in rooms with persons, places, things, and ideas that were unsavory. I certainly have. For sure. And we certainly came out with fleas, for lack of better phrasing. So,
also real quick.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we're doing this is if you listen to... Oh, no. Did they listen to that? Oh, yeah, Sunday. If you listen to Sunday's episode on... It's not on there, so I don't know what it was. But the speech we gave at Lake Ave Recovery, we talked about the 5 buckets. We haven't gone super deep in a while on them, so we wanted to do a full episode.
Absolutely. And so, again, the main thing here is who you spend time with is who you become. That's a rolling theme. One of the reasons why we're so passionate about Next Level Universe is the community. And so there's 5 buckets. And I want you to picture a page with an arrow from left to right, and there's 5 buckets underneath that arrow. And think about this arrow as the amount of progress towards my dreams. And I actually want, what's the name? A Lehman scale? What was the?
Libra scale.
Libra scale. Lehman scale. A Libra scale.
So ampersand.
Yeah.
Ampersand.
Picture a Libra scale.
Yeah.
Yes. And the right side is the buckets that you want to be heavier so that you can make more and more and more progress towards your dreams. Okay. Far left, we'll start there. Far left is the nostalgia bucket. The nostalgia bucket is basically people that you grew up around, people that you went to high school with, close friends and family that you basically, when you're born into this world, if you were born in China, you probably speak Chinese. If you were born in America, you probably speak English. And that's just what we grew up around, okay? So these are the people that you spent the most time with when you were first born, when you were the most like a sponge. That's the nostalgia bucket. The next one is the maintenance bucket. The maintenance bucket are people maybe in college or acquaintances that you've worked with that you're kind of maintaining those relationships, but they're not super growth-oriented people. They don't necessarily have common goals or any goals. They don't necessarily have common core values or common beliefs, but you care about them, you love them, just like the nostalgia bucket, but they're not necessarily on the same path as you, so to speak. Then there's the third one. This is the one Kevin came up with on the plane, the mentee bucket. These are people, the only difference between the maintenance bucket and the mentee bucket is that the mentees actually look to you for guidance. So in Kevin and I's case, these are clients. We're starting up group coaching soon. Those would be in the mentee bucket. Any clients, that kind of thing. 4th bucket, growth bucket. These are people that are your peak performance partners. These are people that you can pitch and catch with on a Friday night where you're talking about goals and dreams naturally and organically, and they're both super growth oriented, and you're kind of on the same level. Picture a gym partner who you're the personal trainer and they're the client. That's the mentee bucket. Now picture Kevin and I going to the gym together. We're kind of both been in fitness for a really long time. He's ahead of me for sure. But I can hang. And I can push him too if I'm having a good day. and Kevin,
I'm making fun of him slightly on YouTube, but I am definitely joking. Alan and I have had a lot of great workouts. That's one of my favorite things about traveling, and one of the things I miss. When we travel, we find random gyms and we get to get after it. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
It is awesome. I appreciate it.
So all the love. I'm teasing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want you guys to know I'm teasing as well.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your growth bucket. People who want to grow, peak performance partners, they're on your level, same chapter sort of thing. Same path. Similar path, I should say, not same. Last bucket, and by far the most important bucket.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll. Wisdom bucket. We were with Steve Ryder, and we told him about the buckets. And I don't know what episode that was, but we were overlooking Scottsdale, Arizona.
So early.
And we talked to him about the buckets. He said, Alan, I think you're missing the wisdom bucket. The wisdom bucket is people that are literally 5, 10, 15, or even 20 years ahead of you. These are your mentors. These are your coaches. We have one client who recently, when she had first reached out for coaching, we've been coaching her for probably a couple months now, but when she first reached out, she said, honestly, Alan, I feel like I've outgrown my coach. I don't feel like my coach is really that far ahead of me. And I said, honestly, then if you feel that way, I don't believe they're probably a good coach. I think your coach, you can't take someone somewhere you've never been. You don't want to be a travel agent. Like, hey, go here. I've never been there, but it's great, right? So those are the 5 buckets. And just remember that most people have their nostalgia and maintenance buckets full. And when Kevin and I first learned this, we were way heavier on the nostalgia and maintenance. Now we're the opposite, and we're way heavier on the mentee or the wisdom bucket and the growth bucket.
Strong work.
Thank you, man.
Strong work. One of the reasons we wanted to do this episode is because there's a lot of people who are afraid to break, I don't want to say break ties, but maybe distance themselves from the people in the nostalgia or the maintenance bucket. Again, they're not bad people.
Right.
Like, we're not saying that. But if you have big goals, I think of it this way, and we've said this a million times. If you want to get into better shape, are you going to spend time with people who don't care about fitness at all?
Right.
Or are you going to spend time with the people who say, hey, let's go to the gym after school, after work, before this. Let's go out to eat at this healthy place instead of going to Domino's.
Right.
I'm a big fan, personally, of Domino's.
Same.
But it's aligned.
Right.
What is going to be more aligned? This is one of the things that I know people struggle with the most. We talk about masterminds, especially if you're emotionally driven. You getting outside of your comfort zone and connecting with people who want the same things as you or similar, like Alan said, moving in a similar direction. Maybe it's people that have the same area of expertise. Maybe it's people that don't. I don't know that it's natural for emotionally driven people to get out of their comfort zones and in over their head. Again, that's been one of the things that has benefited me a lot that Alan's basically made me do. It's not like in a bad way. He's just like, hey, we're going to do this. Like, it's important. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sounds great. But I do think that looking back, it's one of the most impactful things that we've had happen. And I think the reason is because every single person in that mastermind wants to go to the same place. So
Right.
those are all people in our growth bucket. Sometimes wisdom, depending on what we're talking about.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, if you could change one thing about your life, I bet you it's probably the people that you're surrounding yourself with that would really help you get to the next level. Now, again, I'm not saying you have to cut people out of your life. That's not what we're saying. I've done that in the past. Not necessarily the best thing in the world. I definitely regret some of the decisions I made, but I can use my pain to help you guys avoid that pain. So I don't think it's necessarily about cutting people out. I think it's about reallocating time.
Right.
And I think it's important to understand what are you getting and what are you giving to the friendships. That's always been a huge thing for me is like, I had a lot of people that supported me, but it wasn't necessarily, like I didn't need their support in the way they thought I did. Like, oh, you can talk to me anytime. It's like, I honestly, I appreciate that. That means the world to me. But, and this is going to sound a little hardcore, and I don't mean it that way. If we're not doing the same thing, there's only so much advice you can give me.
Right.
If you've never been to the gym, I don't really, your opinion just won't hold the same value. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate it and it's not coming from a place of love.
Right.
But I'm more apt to listen to somebody who's doing the same thing as me.
Right.
And that's the hard truth. And that's why these buckets are so important. If you have big goals or if you have goals that are going to draw you beyond where you are right now, you're going to have to change your reference group.
Right.
Unless you are blessed to have those people in your life already. You know, and maybe you are. I think that's probably rare.
It's rare because I believe that people who are, it's like sort of like the law of attraction, right? So let's say I'm in the gym. You ever have guys want a spot, like need a spot?
Yeah.
And they pick you because they know you can spot them and they've got 3 plates on each side, which is what, 305? 315? Okay, so let's say Kevin's bench pressing or squatting 315. That you can do. And you need a spot. You're not necessarily going to go and ask, you know, someone who's brand new. You're going to ask someone who probably knows how to spot, right? Yep. That's the law of attraction at work. That's not Kevin being mean. That's just Kevin looking for someone who he knows can handle the job. So it's not common to have, like one of my main mentors was the, you know, CEO of iRobot, technically COO, but that's a whole nother story. But it's not like he's not like, hey, let me look for kids to mentor. Maybe he is if he has a podcast like we do, and we're looking for people to mentor and coach, obviously. But like, that's not really his main focus. So it's not natural for him to like. He's not just put it this way: the mentor I'm talking about is not going to hit you up on Instagram and say, "Hey, are you looking for business advice?"
Right.
Why? Because he doesn't have an Instagram. He's not doing that. You know. So I think it's very natural for people who are far ahead of where you are, if you're listening, to spend time with other people that are at their level or beyond it. So it requires a level of proactiveness. It really, really does. And there's no greater indicator of humility than someone seeking guidance from someone way ahead. You know, we have a meetup which will drop next Tuesday. Right now it's Monday, we're recording. We have a meetup tonight with Nick Cavuto. Like, we sought him out for advice because he's far ahead of us in the entrepreneurial journey. There's a lot we can learn. And that really shows humility, and people love that. So don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask for help. I think, you know, one person, and then I'll let Kevin talk here. One person who's a listener of this show from London, lives in London, is working in the film industry, and he reached out and said, listen, I know you preach this on the show. If you don't ask, if you don't take the shot, you'll never know. So, hey, would you be willing to jump on the phone with me for 20 minutes? I have some questions. I said, yeah, let's do it. His name's Isaac. We had an awesome call. And I do believe that changed the trajectory of his life. And those are his words, not mine. We DM'd after. Like, he's like, the next time you talk to me, it's going to be a whole nother level. I think he said something exactly like that. And it's like, honestly, kudos to him for asking, because it worked. And I do believe the advice that I could give him. He's 22. I'm 32. I've got a decade of mistakes that you can learn from. Like, that's the cheat codes.
We talked about this in one of the episodes last week. One of my clients, I basically said to her, like, I can't be the only person that you talk about this stuff with.
Literally.
I know I can help you a lot, and that's awesome. But I think it's important that you start really piecing together this part of your life. Whether it's a mastermind, whether you create your own, like, there are so many, again, Next Level Nation. Go in Next Level Nation. There's a ton of people who are doing the same or similar things. Entrepreneurs, whatever, speakers, everybody.
Yep.
Maybe it's not that. Maybe one of your friends who you went to school with does the same thing as you. Right? Like, I just think that you gotta have the courage. I think that's it at the end of the day. If you're doing something, if you're a podcaster and you reach out to Alan and I, and we feel like, oh my God, that is a great win-win. That's a huge win-win. This person's going places. We feel like we're going places. They help us with this. We can help them with this. That's a win-win. Why would we ever say no? Now, we have had people do that, and it wasn't necessarily a win-win. Nothing against them.
Right.
We just didn't see their trajectory line up with ours. That's okay. Right? This is just like anything else when it comes to relationship building. You just got to find your people.
Right.
You got to find the right people.
If we're headed to LA and you're headed to Mexico, we're going to have to part ways mid-country. I think that's a really important reframe. I know it sounds that simple, but isn't that true when you're in a car? Like, let's say you and I are driving 2 separate cars, and we're headed on Route 70 in the middle of the country, and you are headed to Mexico, and I'm headed to LA. You and I can only hang out or drive together up to Columbus, Ohio, and then we have to say, Kev, it's been great. You know, I'm headed this way, man. I'm sorry. Right? I think that we emotionalize it, but it really is the same. You made a really good quote earlier today that really hit home for me. It was something along the lines of, like, in order for me to achieve you like the old me or you miss the old me, but in order for me to achieve this goal, I had to change. What was that? You know how, like, rappers say, like, that haters basically miss the way they used to be or something like that?
I mean, that's basically the quote. One of the best things, there's a picture of a butterfly, and it basically, there's what was a butterfly before?
Caterpillar.
and the caterpillar is looking at the butterfly and said, "You've changed," and he basically said, "Well, you just didn't yet." And I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think we have to somewhat normalize, like, okay, and this is going to be hardcore, and I mean this with all the love in the world. What if, and maybe it's not this cut and dry, but what if I stayed friends with you at the level that we were, I wouldn't accomplish my goals? What if by me not opening that space for somebody else to come into my life, that I don't accomplish my goals? And if I believe my goals are the best for the world, and for the listeners, and for the Next Level family, and for my girlfriend, and for my family, and for Alan and Alan's family, isn't it my job to make sure that I'm growing at the maximum rate?
Responsibility. 100%.
It's heavy, but I think it's true. And again, we've been left behind by people.
For sure. For sure.
And I think because, we're kind of used to it, so it doesn't. If you think you're more successful without me, I'm probably not going to take it offensively. Like, good for you for doing it.
Right. Kev.
Jeff.
We had to leave our ex-girlfriends in order to find the loves of our lives. That you only get one best friend, technically. Let me say this.
Then we have to go.
Let's say you have 5 meals in front of you, okay? You don't love all the meals equally. Let's say one is sushi. Let's say one is pad thai. Let's say one is pizza. Let's say one is McDonald's, and let's say one is, I don't know, steak dinner.
Pizza.
Okay. What's your 10 out of 10?
Pizza.
Okay, so they don't all have the same value to Kevin. The pizza is the 10 out of 10. What if pizza's the 10 out of 10, what's the steak dinner?
0 out of 10.
0?
Steak's for
it doesn't.
birds.
Okay, interesting. Sushi?
2.
2. Pad thai?
It's probably a 5.
5. Okay, and then what was the other one I said? McDonald's. 9. Okay, sounds good.
Simple, man.
Okay. Now, what Kevin did there is he took his own core values when it comes to food, his own likes and dislikes, and he evaluated the value of these 5 meals. No human being is the same. No human being has the exact same goals, exact same core values, or exact same beliefs. No 2 human beings are perfectly aligned. The question is, are you choosing, like Kevin just did with those meals, the ones that are most aligned for you?
Yeah.
And I think that I'm not saying to take emotions out of it. I'm saying to ask yourself the question, how aligned is this relationship? And use it from the frame of these buckets. You should not be spending major time in the nostalgia bucket, because if you are, you're more likely reminiscing on the past than, creating the future.
And I always say, like, would you be okay trading in your goals for this friendship? That's all. If you are, then go do it.
Right.
Do it. I'm not. I just, there's a lot of things I really want to accomplish and I feel pulled to do. Sometimes it's not even that I want to. Sometimes it's just that I have to.
I know.
And I think that's the thing. And if you're on the other side, I can understand why it's frustrating. But it's one of those things, if it wasn't a relationship, if it wasn't somebody else's feelings, it would be a lot easier.
Right.
Which car is going to get you further? This one. Okay, I'm going to get in that car. It's simple when it comes to that, but I understand when it comes to feelings. This is something that I've seen a lot of emotionally driven people struggle with, so we just wanted to share our thoughts. It's one of those things, and it's one of those things that's an absolute game changer if you can really fix it and lock it in.
For sure.
Speaking of fixing, changing, and locking something in, as of March 15th, Alan and I are going to start up group coaching.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you talk about it for a
So
minute?
group coaching, so picture a accountability group of 10 people that are all trying to get to the next level in their life, and we're going to do peak performance tracking. We're going to hold you accountable. It's going to be 2 calls, 1 hour, bi-weekly. So it's going to be 2 calls, so 2 hours per month, so bi-weekly calls with Kevin and I. You can come and ask questions. We're also going to give bi-weekly progress reports. Back in school, you had report cards, and it kept you at least trying. Imagine if you had that for life. And imagine if you had another group where you don't want to let the group down. Imagine being in an excellence-driven culture. You're just going to be, it's almost like you're signing up and paying. And again, it's only $75 for the first 10. And we are definitely raising the price after that because Kevin and I realize that's not a long-term profitable play. But right now we're doing a test group for 10 people. Get in ASAP, reach out to Kevin, myself, as soon as humanly possible. March 15th, we are doing this. Whether it's 2 people or 10 people, I do believe it'll be 10, but we're doing it. Okay, that said, imagine paying $75. Put some skin in the game. You're going to want to get your value. You're only letting yourself down by not being around an amazing team. And these buckets, it's going to be all growth buckets.
Yeah, and imagine Alan and I being in your reference group. You can bring us questions. You're going to be part of a 24/7 text community in WhatsApp that is going to have everybody. That's a whole thing. I wish we had that a few years ago. Also, every single Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Meetup Monday. 40 minutes of a keynote from Alan and myself, excuse me, and or an amazing guest. Then we turn the cameras off, we turn the recorders off, we leave for the last 20 minutes, and you get to connect with the listeners. We'll have a PDF that you guys can go through asking and answering questions that you learned, connect with the team. Again, one of our main focuses is how can we connect you guys and gals to more people like you. We want to help you make your growth bucket and your mentor bucket bigger. That is our goal, the wisdom bucket. So, as always, we hope you enjoyed. Up next, are you telling yourself these lies? Ooh, it's going to be a super, super powerful episode. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. As always, we don't have fans. We have family. I almost got through a whole episode without Jeff. And talk to you on the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye.